Hello friends and welcome into NFL Daily. I am your host Tom Downey. Today we're taking a look at the NFC Playoff Picture, the final one until the NFL regular season is over. And there's quite a lot that has yet to be sorted out this year. Seeds 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. They are all open in some form or the other. Kind of crazy, you know. In fact, only one spot in terms of teams is available right now. That comes down to the NFC East. So who's going to win it? Type C for the Cowboys, E for the Eagles. I think it's pretty obvious. It's going to be Philadelphia. I don't see them finding a way to lose to the Giants. However, that would be the greatest comedy factor in the NFL playoffs. And you guys know me. I like comedy factor. So maybe we should be cheering for the Cowboys. But I feel pretty confident it's going to be the Eagles. Let me know what you guys think in the comments section. Now on to the rest of the playoff picture here. The current number one seed is the San Francisco 49ers, coming off a win over the LA Rams 34-31. They have already clinched a playoff spot. We just don't yet know which spot that is going to be. It will come down to Monday Night Football on the road against the Seattle Seahawks. A win secures San Francisco the number one seed. A loss drops them all the way down to number 5. It is the NFC West Championship game. Even though San Francisco is on the road, they are the favorites. Line has moved up just a little bit on BetDSI. You see the links there at the bottom. chatsports.com/bet. Promo code NFL120 gets that deposit bonus. You guys know the drill by now. 3.5-point favorites in what is going to be a fantastic game. I think the Niners defense has been a little bit banged up right now, but Seattle's coming off a gross loss to the Cardinals. So who do you guys got? Let me know in the comments. Type SF for the 49ers or type SEA for the Seattle Seahawks. I'm going to go with San Francisco. I've been very impressed by them. As we'll get into here in just a second, Seattle also getting bit just a little bit right now by the injury bug. Now, because these two teams played, we'll jump around a little bit here in the order. We won't go 1 to 6. We'll go 1 to the current number 5 seed, the Seattle Seahawks. And this is fascinating to me in a just total chaos sort of way. Seattle can finish as the number 1, the number 2, the number 3, or the number 5 seed this year. That's kind of crazy. Here we are with one game left in the regular season. They have clinched the playoff spot. They can finish no worse than number 5. But getting the 1, the 2, or the 3 will depend on what happens this weekend. So here are those scenarios. The Seahawks get the number 1 seed if they, of course, win versus San Francisco's loss, puts them at number 5. Win versus San Francisco. If Carolina upsets the Saints, and the Lions beat the Packers, not all that likely. Now, we'll break down some more scenarios, but I want to mention this as well. This is a great timeline to be alive in, folks. Marshawn Lynch is back with the Seattle Seahawks. I don't know what year it is anymore, but he's back. Seattle has a rash of injuries. Rashard Penny is out. Procise is out. And then, of course, Chris Carson also out for the year. So they've brought back Marshawn Lynch. He only played in 6 games last year with the Raiders, but he's back for a playoff run. Pretty crazy, right? It's a fantastic time there to be alive. So, of course, we went through the 5 seed. Losing, you're there. Went through the 1 seed. There are also 2 and 3 scenarios here for the Seattle Seahawks. It all depends on what happens this weekend in the NFL. For the number 2 seed, of course, they still need a win. They also will need the Lions to beat the Packers. Notice the common theme there between the 1 seed and the 2 seed. They need Detroit to win, and they need the Saints to beat the Panthers. They clinch the number 3 seed if they win, and the Packers, when that Saints game, folks, has 0 outcome if Green Bay beats Detroit. If that happens and the Seahawks win, they are locked into the number 3 seed. The reason there is because of tiebreakers. The Saints beat the Seahawks. Therefore, if those teams finish with the same mark, Saints get in ahead of Seattle. So that is why that game for New Orleans has no impact on the Seahawks if Green Bay beats Detroit. So in all likelihood, probably looking at the 3 or the 5 seed if you're Seattle. Moving on now to the number 4 seed for now, the Philadelphia Eagles, the only spot unclinched in terms of playoff teams. We know the seeding's up for grabs, but the Eagles right now are the number 4 seed. They have not yet clinched, however. They beat the Cowboys 17-9 in a frankly ugly game. 2 defenses that suck, and they combined for 17-9. Go figure, right? They can clinch with a win over the Giants or a Cowboys loss. More on that game coming up. But first, the Eagles on the road against the Giants. Only a 4-point favorite. Kind of interesting, is it? Wouldn't you think the Eagles would be a bigger favorite on the road against the Giants team that's not that good? I mean, sure, the Giants can get to 5 wins or whatever, but that's really not going to do a whole lot there. I like the Eagles. Maybe it's only the money line because it is a road game, but I like Philadelphia in this one. I think they'll win it. You can bet on this game and, of course, all of the NFL games this week and the playoffs, too, and bowl games on BetDSI. So head over to chatsports.com/bet. Use that promo code NFL120. It gets you a 120% deposit bonus. So you put down $50, they're going to give you $60 for free. You will not find a better betting deal out there on the internet than the one on BetDSI. It's chatsports.com/bet. Use that promo code NFL120. So who you guys got this week? Is it the Eagles or the Giants? Give me a 1 for the Eagles, 2 for the Giants. I know we got a lot of Cowboys fans watching. I feel pretty confident it's going to end up being Philly this week. Now, as a reminder here, folks, the Cowboys are still alive in the playoff picture. There's one team left to be determined. The seeding is all up for grabs beyond the 6th spot, which we'll get to in a minute. But the Cowboys are still alive, technically speaking. They're coming off is clunker the right word for it? Disaster? Maybe shit show. Shit show's a good one there. 17 to, that's like 2 words, or it's a hyphen, I don't know. 17-9. They get in if they beat the Redskins and the Philadelphia Eagles lose. That is what they need to get in. By the way, one note, I'm not doing ties. Ties just come with the hell of everything, so I'm just not going to bother with it there. You guys, there aren't going to be any ties anyway. Even the Dolphins-Bengals couldn't tie. But as for the Cowboys, do you even want them to beat the Redskins? I think it's a fair question. So type Y for yes and for no. Playing at the same time as the Eagles, so they'll be trying to win. They'll probably win the game. The Eagles will probably win. They'll finish 8-8 to just somehow perfectly encapsulate the Jason Garrett era, and then, they'll have a worse draft pick. Frankly, even if you make the playoffs, you're not going to do anything. You couldn't even score against the Eagles. Half your team is banged up. The Cowboys can claim Amari and Dak are fine. Are they, though? I certainly don't think so. I'm actually typing in no. It is draft season. Tank this game, fire your head coach at the end of the year, thank God, FG's in the comments, of course, and get a better draft pick. But the Cowboys will probably win. So there you go. And we kind of ignored 2 and 3 because it's complicated, and we just kind of went in a different order this time around. The Green Bay Packers, they have clinched the NFC North with that win over the Minnesota Vikings. And because the NFC East sucks this year, they at least have the number 3 seed. So they're fighting for 1, their current seed 2, or if they end up losing, they could drop down to number 3. So here are their seeding scenarios. They get the number 1 seed if they win and the Seahawks win. If that happens, Niners fall down. Packers have the tiebreaker over the Saints if they win, no matter what, because of NFC losses. They get the 2 seed if they win and the 49ers win. They also secure it with a win and a Saints loss. Like, they're going to get in at least as the 2 seed in there. They get the 3 seed if they lose to the Lions and the Saints win. So in all likelihood, given that they're playing a pretty poor team in the Detroit Lions, the Packers are going to have a bye this year. Now, we'll see if it's the number 1 or the number 2 seed. They would have to really kind of collapse in Week 17 against a bad Lions team. I don't see that happening. However, it's tough because the Niners did beat the Packers head-to-head. So tiebreaker-wise, San Francisco does have that advantage. That's why the Niners are playing for number 1 or number 5. So who's the best team in the NFC? As weird as it sounds, you got 4 teams fighting for the number 1 spot. You've got the Saints. They've played very well this year. Green Bay, as the defense has stepped up. I'm a little worried about that offense there overall. The Niners have played really well this year. So who is the best team in the NFC? Scroll down to those comments and let me know. Now to the number 3 current seed. That is the New Orleans Saints. Coming off a win over the Tennessee Titans, 38-28. They've already clinched the NFC South. Now they do need help here to get a bye in the playoffs. It's kind of tricky, but this is where they sit. So here's so they can get the number 1 seed, still alive by the way. They need a win over Carolina, a loss by the Packers, so Lions win that game, and the Seahawks to beat the 49ers. If that happens, congrats New Orleans, you are the number 1 seed. Feels kind of unlikely, right? They get the number 2 seed if they win, Lions also win, and then the Niners beat Seattle. So it ends up being 49ers have the number 1 seed, Saints slot in at number 2. There's also a scenario here where if the Packers beat the Lions and the Seahawks beat the 49ers, then whatever the Saints did doesn't actually matter because the Packers have the advantage there. But the Niners are in the 5 seed, Saints ahead of Seattle there in the end. Because as a reminder, the Saints beat the Seahawks earlier this season. So just keep that in mind there. The Saints, 3 might be their most likely outcome. So who will be the number 1 seed in the NFC? Is it going to be the 49ers? Is it the Packers, Saints, Seahawks? I think San Francisco wins on Monday Night Football. Therefore, I think the Niners end up winning the NFC and getting that coveted home field advantage and, of course, a bye in the first round of the playoffs. Of course, if you disagree, go put your money where your mouth is on BetDSI, chatsports.com/bet. Use that promo code NFL120. It gets you a 120% deposit bonus. So you put down $50, they're going to give you $60 for free. It's chatsports.com/bet, and that promo code NFL120. So we've gone through all the teams except one, and that is the Minnesota Vikings. That's because, well, it doesn't matter what happens. Regardless of what Minnesota does this weekend, they are the number 6 seed. That is where they are going to finish. They are locked in to that spot. They have a Week 17 game against the Chicago Bears. In the end, it is meaningless. The outcome of Minnesota has no impact on the NFC playoff picture. Impacts draft order, especially for Chicago. They should try and tank that game. But no matter what happens for Minnesota, they are locked into that number 6 seed in the NFC.
8 teams still in the mix for the 6 spots in the AFC. Of course, 5 teams have already clinched, so it's really 3 teams for 1 spot. We'll get to those final 3 teams later on, but we got to start with the team who has clinched home field throughout the postseason in the AFC, and that is the top seed, the Baltimore Ravens. What can you say about this group? They beat the Browns this week 31-15, again to clinch the top seed in the AFC, 11 straight wins. The AFC playoff picture will go through Baltimore as they will get to play at home throughout the postseason. They play the Steelers in Week 17. Doesn't mean much for their sake. Does mean a lot for the Steelers. We'll talk about their side of things later on in the show. But we all know what this team has been about, and it all starts with Lamar Jackson. Over 3,000 passing yards, over 1,200 rushing yards, 43 total touchdowns. Lamar Jackson has done it all. It's a formality at this point. He will be the 2019 NFL MVP. So the Baltimore Ravens having a great season. They get to take the week off essentially in Week 17. They are your number 1 seed in the AFC regardless of what happens this week. Got a quick question for you guys. Who is the best team in the AFC? Is it the Ravens? They've won 11 in a row. Hard to argue against that. Some good teams in the AFC. A couple we're going to get to in just a minute, but Baltimore is a good bet. Let me know what you guys think in the comments down below. Who is the best team in the AFC? Next team up here, the New England Patriots. They clinched the AFC East for the 17th time in 19 seasons by beating the Bills 24-17 over the weekend. They can end up with either the number 2 or the number 3 seed, depending on what happens this week. And they face the Miami Dolphins, a team who has given them some trouble in recent years in games that really haven't meant a lot. So not just a formality this week. They got to take care of business to lock up that number 2 seed. Here are the scenarios for the Patriots when it comes to seeding. You win against the Dolphins, you get the number 2 seed. You can actually tie as well, by the way. Another scenario, the Chiefs lose to the Chargers, Patriots also get the number 2 seed. You'll get the number 3 seed if you lose and the Chiefs win. So there is a path to fall down to the 3 seed. A Chiefs win plus a Patriots loss to the Dolphins would result in New England having to play in the wild card round. But beat Miami and the Patriots will be the number 2 seed, and we'll get home field until a possible matchup with the Ravens in the AFC title game. Now, today's show is brought to you by BetDSI, the internet's #1 sportsbook. We got a great promo deal for you guys. You go to this link, chatsports.com/bet. Use our promo code NFL120. They're going to give you a 120% deposit bonus. I put down $100 before the NFL season. I've got a ton of leftover money, and I haven't had the best gambling year. I've been better in the past, not great this year, but I had all that extra money because they gave me $120 for free. So sign up today, chatsports.com/bet. Bet on all of Week 17 matchups in the NFL. Looking back at the AFC playoff picture here, we've gone over the Ravens, we've gone over the Patriots. Those two teams are in line to have the top 2 seeds. Of course, Baltimore has already clinched home field throughout. Patriots get that number 2 seed if they win, or if they get a loss from the Kansas City Chiefs. So let's take a look at the Chiefs side of things. They win their 5th straight game, 26-3 over the Bears, total domination on Sunday Night Football. Chiefs still have a lot to play for here. They can end up with the number 2, the number 3, or the number 4 seed, depending on what happens in Week 17, in which they'll play the Los Angeles Chargers, a team that is lifeless in a lot of ways. I think they had about 10 fans in their home game against the Oakland Raiders, who we'll talk about later in the show on Sunday. Here are the seeding scenarios for Kansas City. Here's how they get the number 2 seed. Got to beat the Chargers and get a loss from the Patriots. If that happens, Kansas City will be the number 2 seed. For the number 3 seed, they got to win on Sunday or get a loss from the Texans. To fall to the 4 seed, they would have to lose and the Texans would have to win. So pretty good chance the Chiefs are just going to end up being the 3 seed. I don't see the Patriots losing to Miami, and I don't see the Chiefs losing to the Chargers. So that would result in Kansas City being the 3 seed. But there are scenarios to be the 2, 3, or 4 seed, depending on what happens this week. And this Chiefs team, they're very, very dangerous and going to be a tough out in the playoffs because of how this defense has come along. Giving up less than 10 points per game the last 5 weeks. 9 takeaways, less than 90 yards rushing per game allowed, less than 215 yards passing allowed the last 5 weeks, and their third down defense has been terrific, getting off the field with great efficiency. Steve Spagnuolo has turned this group around the second half of this season, and we know what the Chiefs offense can do. This is going to be a very, very tough team to beat in the playoffs. Which brings me to this question. Do you guys believe in momentum? Because there's always this theory here that when a team that gets one of the first-round byes loses its first playoff game, it's like, oh, well, their momentum was crushed. I think there's a little bit something to that. I think it could apply to the Chiefs here, where in the middle of the season they weren't playing great. All of a sudden you've won 5 games in a row, and you could argue maybe having the 3 seed is better so you don't have a week off. You're in playoff mode. I think there's something to that. If you think momentum is real, type Y for yes. If you don't think it's real and getting a first-round bye is still the priority, type in for no. Next team up here, it's the Houston Texans, who clinched the AFC South over the weekend with their 23-20 win over the Buccaneers. They can still end up with the number 3 seed. We'll get to that scenario in just a second. They will have to get through the Tennessee Titans in Week 17 and get some help from the Chiefs to have that happen. 10-5 on the year, Deshaun Watson. Another great season for the Houston Texans with a defense that has been depleted in a lot of ways. J.J. Watt has missed most of the season yet again as he's battled injuries the last couple of years. Here are the seeding scenarios for the Texans. The way they get to the number 3 seed is they beat Tennessee on Sunday and get a loss from the Chiefs against the Chargers. Number 4 seed is if the Chiefs win or if they lose to the Titans. So only chance to move up is by winning and having the Chiefs loss. Otherwise, Houston will be the number 4 seed in the AFC, which means they will still have a home playoff game in round 1 of the NFL playoffs. So those are your divisional winners. Baltimore, New England, Kansas City, and Houston. Seeding 2 through 4 can still be altered a bit. Baltimore, your number 1 seed in the AFC, regardless of what happens in Week 17. Let's shift gears to the wild card teams here, starting with the Buffalo Bills, who are locked in as the number 5 seed. Had their chance to stay alive in the AFC East, but lost a tough game, 24-17 against New England. Buffalo's locked in as the 5 seed. Nothing that happens in Week 17 will change that because the teams behind them all have 8 wins or less. Buffalo has 10 wins, so they can't get caught from behind. So they will be the number 5 seed and will play either Houston or Kansas City in the first round. Play the Jets in Week 17, but nothing much to see there. I bet they rest their starters and gear up for the playoffs. Now is where it gets interesting. This fight for the number 6 seed. There's 3 teams in the mix here, starting with Tennessee. Despite losing last week, Tennessee goes from out of the playoffs to in the playoffs because of the Steelers losing as well. We'll break down that situation a little bit more in a little bit. Played tough against the Saints, lost 38-28. It's simple for Tennessee. They're either going to be the number 6 seed or they're going to miss the playoffs, and they're going to have to take down their division rival, the Houston Texans, if they want to control their own destiny. Here are the clinching scenarios. You beat the Texans and you're in. Very simple. Going to be tough on the road. If the Steelers lose, you're also in. Here's how you miss the playoffs. If you lose and the Steelers win. That is the scenario for Tennessee. If it's my team, I just say, hey, win, take care of business. Don't rely on another team to lose. I know Baltimore's going to rest starters, but that's still going to be a tough game for Pittsburgh to win. I wouldn't want to have to worry about that. Just take care of business against the Texans. This is the matchup, Tennessee at Houston. Tennessee actually opening as 5.5-point favorites, according to our betting partners, BetDSI. Go bet on this game today, chatsports.com/bet. Use our promo code NFL120. Over-under set at 47. Houston still has stuff to play for as they are trying to jump to that number 3 seed. So I don't think they're going to lay down in this game. They would like to win this one. So Tennessee going to have to play its best ball. Again, you can bet on this game, chatsports.com/bet. Use our promo code NFL120 to get that 120% deposit bonus. Go bet on all of Week 17 games in the NFL, college football, NBA. You can do it all at BetDSI. A couple more teams to get into here. The Pittsburgh Steelers. So they lost and fell to the in the hunt category, on the outside looking in, because now they have the same record in the AFC as the Titans do, which means it goes to the next tiebreaker, which is strength of victory, which the Titans have a major advantage. Lost to the Jets 16-10 this week. Quarterback has been a problem. We all know that. Devlin Duck Hodges did not play well, has not played well in recent weeks, was actually benched for Mason Rudolph, who played pretty well for the first time in a while, but then he exited with a left shoulder injury, had to go back to Hodges, wasn't able to rally late. They fall 16-10, so they've got a quarterback issue heading into Week 17. Not sure what Rudolph's status is as of yet, but I've got this question. If Mason Rudolph can play, who should start in Week 17 for Pittsburgh? Should it be Duck Hodges or Mason Rudolph? If you think it should be Duck, type D. If you think it should be Mason Rudolph, type M. I mean, Rudolph looked a lot better yesterday. We know both these guys aren't very good. I would probably give the reins back to Rudolph. He's more of a vertical passing threat. They've got James Washington. Juju Smith-Schuster's back from injury. I would go back to him, but I'm not sure what his status would be. Either way, not great options there. By the way, if Rudolph's hurt, Paxton Lynch will be elevated from the practice squad and be Duck Hodges' backup. That is a very bad situation. Last team here, Raider Nation, I know you're watching. We didn't think it was possible, but everything happened in Week 16 that had to keep the Raiders alive in the playoff hunt, including Oakland snapping that 4-game losing streak by beating the Chargers 24-17 on the road. But we all know that was a home game for the Raiders. I don't think there were any Chargers fans. Just go check out some pictures on Twitter. Mitchell Renz has you covered there. That was a home game for the Raiders. Lots of stuff has to happen for the Raiders to make the playoffs and get that number 6 seed, starting with beating the Broncos. You got to beat the Broncos, and then the chips fall where they may. If the Ravens beat the Steelers, the Texans beat the Titans, and the Colts beat the Jags, and the Raiders beat the Broncos, Oakland makes the playoffs at 8-8. Who would have thought that was possible? By the way, you look at that on screen, I know the Ravens are probably going to rest starters, but their backups are still good. RG3 can play. Houston at home against the Titans. Colts against the Jags. that's not out of the realm of possibility. Like, I'll give that a 15 to 20% chance all of that actually happens. Craziest thing, the hardest thing might be Oakland actually beating the Broncos with the way Drew Lock's been playing, but that is the Raiders' path to the playoffs. It's unlikely, but it's certainly still a possibility. So quick recap as we recap the AFC playoff picture. 4 divisional winners locked up: Ravens, Patriots, Chiefs, and Texans. Seeding 2 through 4 can be altered depending on what happens this week. Bills locked in at the 5 seed. Titans, Steelers, and Raiders all fighting for that final seed in the AFC, final playoff spot as the number 6 seed. So I want to ask you guys again, like this video if you believe your team will make the playoffs. I'm looking at you, Raiders fans. Or if your team already has. I know a lot of fan bases are watching us here. If you think your team will make the playoffs, or if your team has already clinched the playoff spot, like this video, and we'll see you next time.